before, but it just didn't come together the way it should have. But I'm still like, I'm not like, this game is absolutely terrible. It's just like the technology wasn't quite where it needed to be. But enough about that. We're live. We probably will be joined by a third member later on. But let's get it started. Kenoshi, introduce yourself.
It's Kenoshi Abominita. You're to be glad on another one of these BS Busters.
All right. This is Mr. Red Fox, owner proprietor BS Busters. So, we have 5 topics for today's cast, plus, I don't know if Kenoshi will be here. I'll let him give his unpopular opinion before we're done, before he leaves, but I guess we can just dive into these topics. Our first topic is, shit. There it is. Final Fantasy 16 is for the youngins. So, the latest from Yoshi P, the same guy who brought back Final Fantasy 14 from the dumpster fire that it was, is now in charge of Final Fantasy 16. And he said that the reason they cut out turn-based combat or command-based combat, basically the combat they've been using, is because they want to appeal to a younger audience, which is very honest.
Yeah.
I give him points for honesty. What are your thoughts on this? Agree, disagree?
Obviously, they wanted to reach out towards a broader audience. I don't entirely agree with it, but I guess I do understand. Uh, just maybe they shouldn't have called it. Maybe it shouldn't have been part of the mainland Final Fantasy series, but and I don't necessarily think um, I don't necessarily think that people like. I know people have been hungering for a Final Fantasy like turn-based RPG for a while, like a big budget turn-based RPG,
Uh huh.
and for some reason Square just doesn't want to give it to them because they think that people don't like that sort of thing anymore.
Well, they think people
And
won't buy it, but they're learning the wrong lessons instead of the wrong lesson from the event. It's like someone saying, "Hey," it's like a criminal saying, "I got caught for doing X, Y, or Z," and that doesn't mean I shouldn't do that anymore. It just means I'm doing it in such a way that I'm getting caught. You get what I'm saying? They're learning the wrong lesson from the situation. The lesson is make better turn-based games, not stop making turn-based games. It's kind of
well,
like
the thing,
no, go ahead.
uh, the thing is, it's just Octopath Traveler sold 2.5 million copies. That was a smaller budget game. Obviously, not everybody uh,
Bought that
wants to
game.
play a turn. Not everybody who wants to play a turn-based game probably wants to play something that looks essentially like a Super Nintendo with HD graphics. Uh, I think if they were to do it right, they could still sell because Final Fantasy 16 sold 2.5 million copies. Should be in
You mean
trouble.
15? Oh, you mean yeah.
Or yeah,
That's true
16
because they're
sold
putting more money
2.5 million.
behind it.
Yeah, it'd be in trouble. So I think there is a way they could do it. I guess somebody just needs to. It's not Square needs to create like a double or triple A Final Fantasy like game with turn based combat uh, to maybe possibly prove that you can this stuff these kind of games still sell even at the a higher budget.
Yeah, basically, Square Enix, their ability to make games has gone down ever since Hironobu Sakaguchi left. Because remember, during the Sakaguchi years, we would get 3, uh, we would get 3 Final Fantasies per console gen. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, Gen 3, we got Final Fantasy 1, 2, and 3. Not we in general, because they didn't localize everything, but 3 were made. Okay? Then Final Fantasy, then the 4th gen, we got 3 Final Fantasies. And that's not including the other stuff that Square Enix, that those teams over there made that never made it to America. Like Live Alive and other stuff. And yet, apparently, they can't, like, even during the 6th gen, I mean the 5th gen, we got 3 Final Fantasies.
Yeah. Yeah.
Except now, we're lucky if we get 1 Final Fantasy per console gen. And I know people would say, well, Final Fantasy 13, there were 3 of those. Yeah, the first Final Fantasy 13 wasn't really a Final Fantasy game. They took something else and they turned it into Final Fantasy. But that wasn't really a Final Fantasy game. All right? Final Fantasy 13 2, they took those assets and just knitted something out of it. I'm just saying that Final Fantasy is not what it used to be, and their rate of making games. Now I know people are going to say, well, it's more expensive to make these games, and it's there's more work that goes into it. But I mean, and I would agree if we were only getting like 2 games, if we were only getting 2 games from Hironobu Sakaguchi, but they were essentially using the same engine for all 3 of those games. And you were getting 3 games per console gen. Gens that were shorter than the gens we have now.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So there's really no excuse other than Square Enix just sucks. And the people they have over there making games these days just aren't as talented as the old people who made games back in the day. Now I'm not saying everything Hironobu Sakaguchi does is great. But even a lot of the stuff that he made outside of Square Enix
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
is pretty good.
was that Lost Odyssey?
Well, there was Lost Odyssey. There was let's see what else. There was Blue Dragon. There was shit. Last Story. And I mean, I'm not saying those games are perfect, but if you compare them to the shit Square Enix has put out and called Final Fantasy, I'd take that. I'd take all of that over what we've been getting from Square Enix that they've called Final Fantasy.
I know people, and I know Lost Odyssey got panned by at least certain review outlets because they're like, well, it's yeah, and I thought at least at the time that was the beginning of the end for turn-based games, but at least when it came to reviewers, but I just think some of these review outlets, they want to try to steer the
Narrative.
gaming narrative or gaming industry in a certain direction as it pertains to style, as it pertains to fashion, which I'd say is a bit of a problem.
I agree.
rather than rather than rather than being like, well, you know, we think these games are out of fashion or whatever. Um, I think honestly, the people who are actually buying these games should be the one to decide, or where the industry goes, rather than reviewers, rather than review scores.
I agree. I agree. I personally, I think that I think them trying to appeal to a younger audience isn't necessarily because the thing is, like, okay, you're talking about a $60 game, okay, and like RPGs, especially turn-based RPGs, have always like RPGs in general have always been more of a like an older person's um genre because kids
Yeah,
want action. And
yeah.
I think them dumbing down Final Fantasy to appeal to a broader audience isn't necessarily. I don't think that's necessarily going
It's
to lead
just
to good things.
it's gonna water down the experience.
Yeah, that's what I think. Now, am I right? Like, is that going to be the case? I don't know. I'm just telling you what I think. I think that them trying to water down Final Fantasy to appeal to a broader audience, it's going to be one of those things where we're trying to appease everybody, and we wind up making everybody angry.
Yeah.
Because I have never seen a game that was trying to appeal to the broadest audience and you know, didn't make everybody angry. I haven't seen it yet. Like every time I've seen someone try to do that, oh, we're trying to make this appeal to everybody. It's been terrible.
Yeah, typically.
I mean, there's no game I've seen that's like, oh, we're trying to appeal to everybody, and it was good. Especially when it comes to niche genres. If it's a niche genre and you try to basically make it appeal to, everybody, I've never seen a niche genre where it was trying to appeal to everybody and it turned out well. Um, I'm not saying it can't happen. I'm just saying I haven't seen it. And I'm not saying I know everything about gaming, but I've done a lot of gaming in my life. I've played a lot of games, all that fun jazz. And I can tell you right now, I have yet to see a game that was made, uh, you know, I've yet to see a game that has tried to appeal to like everybody and stripping out features that was good. You know,
Yeah.
the only game I can think of that did that, and I was like, okay, this makes sense. Is Elder Scrolls,
Yeah.
Elder Scrolls 4.
So I just I just hope it. The game looks interesting. Hope it turns out. Hopes it turns out. I hope it turns out all right. And sorry. Yeah, it seems like they're doing pertaining to the third person action stuff. It seems like they're doing the right thing pertaining to getting people that know how third person action games should work uh, involved in it, because I know Final Fantasy 15 and Final Fantasy 7, they're not particularly great with third person action games.
Yeah, but I mean, personally, I don't think for those games, I don't think giving them a better combat system would have fixed the issues with those games. Like the
Yeah,
combat
that was one of the
system
problems.
wasn't the problem with those games. The crappy story, the unlikable characters, the kind of shitty game design in general. You know, because there are games that have great combat, but I still wouldn't say, oh, it's a good game.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think that's a good barometer for the quality of a title, is that
I'm
it's
not
got,
even,
great combat.
I'm not, I'm not even talking about that. I'm just mostly focusing on one bad aspect of of those games, which was the combat, because obviously you engage with it a lot. But yeah, the story and the stuff like that, just at least when it came to Final Fantasy 15, didn't really go over well with a lot of people.
Yeah,
And even 7 was a mixed bag for various people.
because they changed the entire they changed the story, so it's not really a remake. It's like an alternate. It's an alternate reality on the. It's an alternate reality take on the events of Final Fantasy VII. The problem with that is that the alternate take they're taking drastically changes the entire story of the entire damn game. Like, you can't call something a remake of Final Fantasy VII, and yet have major events change that change the overall story.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, we're gonna do, like, it would be like if Nintendo said we're gonna do a retelling of we're gonna do a retelling of um we're gonna do a retelling of we're gonna redo Ocarina of Time. But instead of having it so that Link, when he pulls the Master Sword out, he's stuck in the Sacred Realm for X amount of years, for 7 years, and that, the whole story, that's the events of the second half of the game. Link is going to pull the Master Sword out and win. Like, that would totally mess up the story, right? The plot
Yeah.
has dramatically changed because you decided to do that. Well, that's my issue with Final Fantasy VII. Them making those changes. It's like, but that changes the entire damn plot of Final Fantasy um, VII when you make those types of changes.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't one of those things that you can just change and it just doesn't mean anything. It's like you've actually dramatically changed the entire game. And here's the thing. Like, I can't believe them doing this is so convoluted and stupid, because I don't even like Final Fantasy VII. Like, I don't think
Yeah.
it's I think it's a lesser man's Final Fantasy VI. But
Yeah.
despite all of that, I will tell you that, like, even though it's a lesser man's Final Fantasy VI in a lot of ways, in my opinion, it's still, like, the story matters. Like,
Yeah.
the events that happen in that game, everything that happens in that game, even if you don't like the story, has a point to it. Like Cloud, it's like, why is Cloud so stoic and like a homunculus almost? Because Cloud has no personality. He's not supposed to have a personality. He literally is. He's literally just he's basically a Genova clone that just has a failed one of the failed Genova clones that just has the personality that he gained from hanging out with Zack Fair. I mean, from Zack Fair's memories. That's it. That's all he really is.
Yeah.
The significance of Eris dying is important because, like, Eris is the first person that he actually met and dealt with that he actually had a choice in how he felt about it.
Yeah.
That is important. It's just weird shit like that where I'm like, okay, clearly these people don't care. They just wanted to do whatever the hell they wanted. And listen, I'm not against people doing their own thing, but don't do your own thing and pretend like you did something profound when you just want to do your own damn thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you got me defending a game I don't even like. That's the thing. It's like, do you know how bad something has to be where you're making me defend something that I don't even like?
Yeah. Yeah. Um that is pretty that is pretty bad.
But anyway, I think we can move on. I think we've Let's see, what time is it? Okay. Uh, you're gonna have to leave in a little bit. So, I guess we can do your unpopular opinion. Do you have an unpopular opinion about gaming or movies that you would like to share? Think people need to know about? People need to talk about? No one said anything about it. Like, hey, someone needs to talk about this. No one said anything about it.
Um, man, I had a popular opinion, but I can't remember because I was watching something yesterday or a couple days ago and I had something. But I just what I was talking about yesterday is that my unpopular opinion is that the advancements of gaming have been both highly beneficial and at the same time highly detrimental. They've been highly beneficial because it's nice to be able to build off of a game without coming out with a new SKU or being able to patch certain issues that probably were missed, before the game went gold and was put out. And it's nice to be able to either stream or download some of your games. But the same things that are beneficial have been detrimental. The problem with patching games is that publishers are like, well, we can we'll just patch it later. Just put the game out.
We'll
Uh,
fix it after the fact.
we'll fix it after the fact.
Yeah.
And then obviously they cut out chunks of the game and then sell it back to you at a premium. And the added more complexities to these consoles, making it more PC like, has almost to some degree eroded the magic of consoles. And yeah, so while a lot of these advancements are great, they're also terrible.
Yeah, remember Mass Effect 3 where there was an entire character?
Yeah, there's an entire character that was cut out. There's an entire section in the game that was cut out. A section called From Ashes
Yeah.
that was
Well, not
paid DLC.
well, it was on the disc, but
Yeah,
like if you got the game, they literally sectioned off an entire character that you didn't have access to and charged you like $15-$20 to get that character, or you had to pre-order the thing early. I mean, it was like, what the really?
yeah.
It's like, for real, you gonna do this to people?
Oh yeah, I remember that. There's a big problem with that because Capcom at the time was doing the same thing with Marvel vs. Capcom 3, and yeah, I believe it was Marvel vs. Where a lot of the DLC was on the disc, so they were holding they were holding a certain content hostage. It was already on the disc, and I remember at the time people, you know, crying about entitled gamers. Oh, you guys are so entitled. You guys just want everything handed to you. It's like games are the games are $60. Now a lot of these games are going up to $70. A lot of these games are $60. Most people, a lot of people, with a lot of responsibilities, who like to play games, when they can, they could probably only afford um, to get a couple of games a year. $60 isn't something to sneeze at. So dropping $60 on the game, and you're holding content hostage on the disc, and you expect me to pay an extra $15-$20. Why didn't you just charge me $80 from the get go?
I'd
Why do
rather
I have
have.
to pay?
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I'd rather have that.
I'd rather just charge me $80 rather than pulling the okey doke. And rather than just you know bamboozling people. It's like, nah, this game's actually worth 75, $80. At least the first half.
Yeah, I'll be 100%. I would rather them just charge people. I would rather have someone charge me $80 and not not cut content out. Like I wouldn't
Yeah,
mind having the price of gaming go up if it means I have to pay less on the back end.
yeah.
And I know some people are going to get mad at that. Like, you want to pay more? I would rather pay $80. I would rather pay 100 if they included shit they used to have back in the day. Like I'd pay 100 for manuals in color, instruction
I
manuals
mean,
in color. I would pay
what?
$100 if they said, "Hey, okay, we're gonna have DLC come out as the game goes along, but you paid $100. It's just gonna come, as we finish it, it'll just be a download on your system."
I know, and for this is never gonna happen, but for life of me, quit when you pre-order a game. Quit also having like the DLC. Oh, you can also pre-order the DLC for 40, $50.
Yeah, and don't
It's like,
and here's the thing: they don't tell you what the DLC is. Like if they said,
mm,
"Okay, we're gonna have this is a 60-hour epic, well, semi-epic RPG, open world RPG, and we're gonna have a 30-hour expansion." Okay, fair. I'll pay $30 for that. Okay,
yeah,
but hey, buy the season pass. Well, what's in the season pass? Can't tell you, but spend your money.
yeah,
these people are like pimps. Get the money first, then services.
yeah, exactly. So
I'm just saying, it's kind of annoying, but oh well. Uh, let's see. I don't think my other panelist is going to show, so I guess we'll end this early. I guess we'll call this part one. I guess we'll do part two next week and get the rest of these topics out the way. So I guess we'll end it here. You want to give your sign? Anything you want to pimp out?
yeah, this is Kenoshi Bonanita here to say, glad to be on another one of these BS Busters. Sorry to cut out early. Uh, Project Console 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. Um, I think next week we're gonna do a Wii U retrospective, and I'm gonna look up content for that. So
That's gonna
yeah,
be
that'll
fun.
be the main focus. All right, catch you guys next time.
Peace. Good night.